My name is Raed Yassin. I'm an artist and musician from Beirut, Lebanon. As a visual artist, I was working on Arabic cinematic image and sound through consumer culture in the Arab world. And I've been active since a long time as a musician, also as a label owner, and one of the organizers of Irtijal Festival in Beirut, a festival of new and experimental music. Sara Raza, the curator of the exhibition in the Guggenheim, knew about my work, and she suggested that I come and do a mini residency in the museum to see the exhibition and develop a soundtrack for this exhibition. Doing a soundtrack for an exhibition, it's not an easy thing because you are working in relation to works and space, and there is time-based works, there's sculptural works, there's two-dimensional works. So I thought the best way to deal with this is actually to work in parallel with the curatorial premise of this exhibition. So I based my research on the ideas related to sciences, physics, geometry, and the origins of that. And also I was inspired by how art and in the same way music can also rely on sciences based on so many different aspects. In my soundtrack, I'll be working on making sequences on the analog synthesizer and also making other loops based on voices. I work with textures and I combine these sounds that comes from acoustic instruments with electronic instruments, and I see that intersection of acoustic and electronic is quite interesting. I use a lot of material. I use wood, plastic, aluminum, a lot of types of metal, brass bowls, and each one resonates in a different way. Also the physicality and the shape of the double bass make it more like a sound machine and a resonating body. Each sound has some kind of, like, let's say, a color or a tone or some kind of a different energy from the other. And each instrument can also has a character more like a certain material. So I always, when I play music, produce like small sonic sculptures in a way of like notes and harmonies and counterpoints, for example. It took 4 days for me working inside the studio, 2 full days to record and 2 other days to edit and master the pieces. I have chosen a sound engineer that I usually work with most of the time, and he has been recording my music for the last 10 years. I also chose to work with 4 other musicians that I always work with. They are collaborators in so many different projects with me. They are Stefan Reeves on saxophone, Pat Konka on clarinet, Sharif Sahnawi on acoustic guitar, and Tony Ali on bass. They knew what I wanted because I prepared the ideas in advance, and I had a lot of meetings with them and rehearsals before going to the studio, so it was actually very relaxing to work with collaborators on this soundtrack. I called the soundtrack Parallel Gems because the pieces in the exhibition are made of the very different materials. So I had the idea to work around the shapes and the density and physicality of gemstones. And this parallelism for me was interesting, to make music out of their shapes. It's not really each piece has to do with each piece in the exhibition, but inspired from the whole exhibition, how it's working around the physics and the chemistry of each material used in the exhibition, and try to have a parallel imagined sound for it that is actually inspired from an element from nature. As an artist and musician, was very interesting for me to work on such a new form of like making a soundtrack for an exhibition. And it was very interesting to have it in the Guggenheim Museum because of its interesting architecture that has relation to geometry, which the exhibition also has, and I try to interpret it into sound.